Hello and welcome back to the Olares Project. This, my friends, could be considered episode number 11, but actually this is the bonus episode because this was completely not a part of the original blueprint. If you remember in the last episode, I pulled up the original blueprint for how this thing was supposed to come together, wrapped up with a retrospective saying, hey, I learned this, and this is where the agent that we're about to install, meaning me and the box, B, the model that we're going to attempt to use, and C, more importantly, the fact that it's going to be running where, well, quite frankly, Pool couldn't run. This is completely not a part of what the original plan looked like. And of course, the original plan fell apart really early in this whole Olares project sequence. So what you're seeing here is my fallback. Effectively, what we are going to do is we're going to hopefully install, wire up, and get running the PyAgent. So the PyAgent is yet another AI agent. I have never used it. I'm not nominally familiar with it. It wasn't my first choice because of some of the name brand recognition that came with OpenClaw with Hermes. I went, okay, that's kind of cool. My outlier was Pool from Poolside. So I went, oh, this will be like the dark horse in this whole F1 test track scenario with the base model serving as the automobile, the three teams that are running the base model around the test track, and then subsequently whoever performs best based on the structure of the coding work, blah. And here we are, episode 11, the bonus episode. And I'm about to dive in. And now there's going to be some pauses. So, some of this is just to protect my system from folks who would like to take advantage of getting access to the Olares One. I know by now you're going, Tim, I need an Olares One. Where can you could search for the BUC lab? You could search for the Olares operating system. Olares One is an appliance. It's out there. I think it's Olares.com if I'm not mistaken. But I'm going to record some of the work involved in all of this because I do want you to at least get a glimpse for what it might be like if you're going to do something similar. And you've taken all of this in stride as inspiration as it was intended to be. So let me flip back. I'm going to move this. Actually, I'm going to hit pause, flip back over to the IDE, and then I'll be doing a number of different steps. And I'll, before I pause for some of the steps that are a little bit more sensitive, I'll let you know what's going on. So I'm hitting pause. I'll be right back with you. So I'm back. And as you can see, I am still in Pool as an agent, and I'm going to hit, I think it's quit. All I need to do is go here to select that. And so we're completely out of the agent now. Mind you, the agent's probably still running in the background. So I'm going to do, because we're in Bash, and for anybody who's not familiar with command line interface, Bash is a Unix, Linux command line interface terminal. So Control-Shift-V, which is the pip install PyAgent. Oh, seriously. See, we're already starting off on a rough foot. Okay. So I got to install some version of Python ahead of this. Boy, okay. Let me think through this. Okay, I'm going to see, this is why this is the bonus episode. You're going to see how challenging this really is. I think I know what I'm going to do next, which is install a base version of Python 3.x, something. Whether it be 3.14 or 3.15, I don't even know. I'm not keeping track of the versions at this point. I'll install that, or better yet, I'll go to Perplexity, ask Perplexity what to do next, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I'm back. Yeah, Perplexity wasn't as helpful as I would have hoped it would be. So ultimately, I just did a curl install. Yeah, I tried to do a bit of jockeying around to see if I could install Python packages. That didn't work. But anyway, here's where we're at. So the PyInstaller is running. You can see right here that I executed. In fact, you can see what wasn't working. Oh my goodness, really? This is just like silly. Pip install. Yeah, I didn't have the local Python libraries installed, so I tried to do an ACP install. It was like, I'll just go to the Py site. that's the easier way of getting this resolved. So here we are. So yes, I do want to install Py, and here we're off to the races, and it's doing the installation. Now, how this gets wired up, this is the thing that I don't know. I mean, this is something I've never done live before, number one. And number two, what's it going to look for as far as the models are concerned? Who knows? Okay. Yeah, no models. Wow. Big surprise. Big surprise. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, let's, maybe let's do a model. Okay. Only showing models that are configured by provider. Use login to add providers. Oh, yeah, this is not good. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the JSON file, which is going to be found over here. I think it's going to be found over here. Yep, here we go. Agent. Yeah, settings JSON. So let me pull this up just so that you can see what I'm going to be. What the? Really? Models JSON. Did you see a models JSON? I didn't see a models JSON. Sessions. Okay. I may have to create a models JSON, which would be very interesting. No, there's no models JSON. Wow. Okay. So models JSON is not there. So guess what, folks? I'm going to put this on pause. I'm going to create the models JSON because it does have some sensitive information in it. And then I'll bring it back once I've got the models JSON created. So stand by. You're seeing me do this in near real time. All right, so I am back. And this is not looking very good. So, by the way, I'm pulling Perplexity across just to show you the level of difficulty this is creating for me. This is asking me to go down a huge rabbit trail configuration-wise, and I'm going to explain by showing you something here momentarily. So here is a Pi instance that I had running. It's actually running out of an NPM instance. I think that's Node.js, if I'm not mistaken. But it's saying it couldn't find the models. The models weren't available. Now, mind you, I went through the painstaking effort of creating some additional JSON files, which I'm not going to show you all the details, but I'm going to show you where I added JSON. So initially, all we had is the authentication and the settings JSON. So I added a models JSON and I added a providers JSON. Since neither one of those acted as a catalyst to get Pi to look at Olama as the local provider, I was like, okay, well, let's see how far down this hole I need to go. So that brought me to here. Now, what this is Code Server looking at the regular core files in the Code Server environment. And now you're going to notice here, let's just go to Pi. Okay. So the authorization JSON, the settings JSON, and then these two, which I custom created. Again, sensitive information, don't want to get into it, but suffices to say, this is where these two files were supposed to resolve the challenge that I was experiencing. And then Perplexity said, no, it's probably resident here. in the npm global or dash global file. And so then, I'm going down this rabbit hole and I'm looking at it and going, okay, so model listing, that's going to have to be touched. Providers is going to have to be touched. It's also saying, so the provider's JSON, the provider's YAML, there's a lot more, a heck of a lot more than just simply adding a couple of JSON files in order to make Pi work in this particular instance. If the creator of the Pi coding agent watches this video, and I would encourage that you forward this on to him and that team supporting it, to let him know that some of us want to be able to do this locally, to do demo videos like the one I'm attempting to do. It would be helpful if all of this configuration was built into the Pi coding agent from the start. And here is, it's pi.dev. There's even a series of models that it connects with, and you can see, hey, these are the models that they work with, cloud-based models. But for people like me who are really kind of into that whole, let me do it out of my own home lab, it's not there. It would create a lot more work for me. And I'm not saying that I can't do the work. I'm just saying that for the purposes of trying to get this whole thing up and running and working that at least at a minimum viable product level, this is another significant investment in time. But, part of this too, and this is the reason why this is a bonus episode, part of this is to show you the challenges and the difficulties sometimes involved in just getting stuff up and running. And, by the way, pi.dev is actually cut off because of the way that I've got my screen capture on in TechSmith Camtasia. But, I went through and was looking at all of this stuff and going, crap, how do I make this work? Well, it's not easy. None of it's going to be easy. And by the way, I realized that I've got my API stuff set up, so none of this is proprietary. So I do apologize because I forgot that I've got an entirely separate API key set for this. Suffices to say, getting in here and adding some simple provider and models files wasn't going to get the trick done for Pi. But, this is what you can expect when you're starting to work through this. Now, based on the way that Hermes performed, what I don't want this particular behind the scenes look at the sausage being made, the spaghetti involved in this whole process, don't let this discourage you from pursuing your own type of experimentation, especially if you're willing to go big and go bold and do the thing, learning while you go. I mean, this is like, if you think about it, this is almost where if you were to pursue a coding boot camp and you really wanted to hone and develop your skills, this is the type of challenge that would help you do that, because it's going to force you to get into these files and make the adjustments for yourself. If you're a burgeoning software developer and you've got some equipment and you want to run these types of tests, certainly do it, learn it, get good at it, because much of the way that I envision software development to go is going to be kind of like this level of troubleshooting in addition to reading the logic and trying to make sense of how things connect. And I'll just do a quick walkthrough. So if we go through this npm global, this docs JSON links back to these docs files. So you can see that, you've got all these different things that are already internal. So the JSON is acting as a way to set up your table of contents. And this is like a full docs file like you would see on the website. In fact, it probably is the same docs file as what we see on the website. Yeah, well, look at that. Okay, so the docs JSON. Let's go over here And let's go to providers. Well, look at that. Although I don't think that if we compare providers, see, it's a derivative state, but this is kind of the file structure. So what I'm helping you to do is to kind of logically understand this docs as it's set up in the web is similar to this docs as it's set up in the actual file system to make the coding agent work. So, this is how you can orient, if you're more like me as a visual learner, how you can orient your mind to see it more like a web page versus orienting your mind to see it as just straight text in a file. And all of these are just markdown files. So markdown is a way of putting text in specific format so that it's useful. And, I think the single biggest hurdle that I was having to get over when I started a lot of this back in November of 2025 was, okay, how much actual code am I going to be responsible for, or do I take responsibility for adjusting, and what does that look like when I reach a point where I can't debug it and I'm stuck testing it and I can't figure out a way around it? This is something very relevant to remember. None of us are stuck at this point, because even with free access to Frontier Lab models, by and large, if you copy and paste the response in addition to the segment of code that you're getting, it probably has a way of inferring what that potential solution is. Now, I have no idea what, the Olares box is doing right now. Can't tell you. Sorry. But, this is to let you know that you're not really ever stuck. And that was the realization that I came to in November of 2025. I was not stuck. I could figure out a way to fix the problems that I was creating for myself, even outside of VS Code, because I was going to my already existing, having been on this subscription model with Perplexity for months. Actually, by then it was almost 2 years. It was going into my third year. I've been with Perplexity for 3 years now, as of the point of time where this video is being recorded. I dig Perplexity. I am a Perplexity fan. So while wiring up Pi and getting it running specifically to, make this the cool, unexpected bonus video, you know what? This is a better unexpected bonus video, because it's just showing you what I was already encountering and some of the types of troubleshooting I had to do in order to just get a lot of stuff working. Again, my intent was never to bore you with the nuts and bolts of me trying to figure this stuff out, using Perplexity and doing the research and doing a bunch of micro experiments. It was to show you that something could get wired up and working and actually perform, this notional virtual test track lab. Didn't quite get there, but it definitely was a learning experience for me. I hope that all of this becomes a learning experience for you, because what I don't want you to do is sell yourself short. If you've got the inclination and the intellectual curiosity and the willingness to really push, you too can make this stuff happen for yourself. This is not impossible at all. This is highly possible. And I want you to walk away with that message in your head that Tim from Tim Unscripted, who's been recording the Olares Project, 1 episode to 11 episodes down the road, can make stuff work, even being a little bit frustrated by a perceived lack of progress. Given enough time, given enough focus, given enough tooling, we can all make this stuff work. So what I want to do, though, is ask you for a favor. I want you to, if you've enjoyed this series of videos, if you've enjoyed this particular playlist, if you enjoy my channel, like and subscribe. I'm going to be shameless about this, because now you've seen this entire playlist, several hours worth of, recording and editing and whatnot. Like and subscribe, share it with people, point people who are aspirational to it. I've intentionally set it up so that it's not safe for kids. By that, I mean, it's just, I always try to make my videos clean and meaningful and, as wholesome as possible. I can't say that something didn't slip when I was frustrated on any of these recordings. But what I can say is that if there's a student in your life and you want to inspire them, share this video with them. And of course, meaning high school, middle school, you're the parent, cue it up for them. Look, this guy's got, very little hair and a gray beard. He's doing this thing. It means you could do it too. Not impossible. So that being said, my shameless ask, as important, if this video in particular really resonated with you, I want your suggestions for the second season number 2, multiple episodes of the Olares Project. What do you think I should tackle next so that I can get into that planning cycle and start working with the teams at the BEC lab to make this possible? Think about it. Put it in the comments below. I am really genuinely interested because I don't have anything in mind. I mean, my big F1 test track simulation thing, that was like the initial start. I am hoping that by crowdsourcing ideas and suggestions from you, the viewer, you're going to set me on the path for where the next season of the Olares Project goes. So that being said, like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment of where you think this should go next. Take care. I look forward to seeing you in future episodes in the next season of the Olares Project, brought to you by Tim Unscripted.